Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Think Tank Sports. Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen. Check us out on the socials, Facebook, Twitter, and the IG, and listen to us on Anchor or wherever you get your podcasts. Or if you like us even more, watch us now on YouTube. We are out there. Please, if you are so inclined, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Watch us in this craziness that we call our studios, if you will, the home office in Sioux City, Iowa, as David Letterman used to say. But yeah, so we're out there for your consumption in many, many different ways. But first and foremost, I am not doing this podcast by myself, because if I was, it would have been done 3 years ago. And there's the laughter from my partner, Mike. Mike, how the heck are you?
Good, David. Great to hear your voice in this, nice, crisp 68-degree day we had here in upstate New York.
Little warm,
Uh,
yep.
had the cover put on the air conditioner last weekend, so you can thank me for this warm weather.
Oh, there you go. That was all you're doing.
What are you going to do? But also doing is all these sports, Dave. We're
Yeah.
all over the place. We're going to talk some NFL today. We're going to talk some college. We're going to talk some NBA. Anything else that'll strike our fancy along the way?
Maybe some World Series.
Maybe
as
some World
the
Series that's
baseball
happening.
is going on. That's the baseball, as they call it. Yes, the
The
World
baseball.
Series, the
Well, let's
baseball.
let's start there with a Twitter poll from last week that we finished, and of course, this was, remember, coming off our emotional, visceral reaction to the Yankee season ending.
Yes.
We put a poll up that said, "In the mists of time, and 2022 Yankee season will be considered a failure, an abject failure, an epic failure on all levels, or minimum expectations met." No bitterness in those options there,
No,
Dave.
not one bit of bitterness.
But combined polls show just a simple failure, 57% too.
Hmm.
Just with an average, everyday run-of-the-mill failure for the Yankees. I would call it an abject failure, but do you have any thoughts on that topic before we move on?
It's so tough because the expectations are always World Series or bust. And for the Yankees to not get to the World Series, that's a bust. We talked about this earlier, the regular season, pretty decent regular season, lots of memorable moments, but it doesn't matter unless you get to the World Series. So
Right.
I don't
And then
remember where I was on the poll, but yeah, definitely on the heavier side of failure.
fair enough. And then to swing us into the NFL, Dave, a poll put out was, which is the biggest disappointment in the NFL so far? Buccaneers, Packers, Raiders, Steelers, and the Packers are running away with this one, buddy. I'm surprised the Buccaneers aren't, but Packers just ran away with it. Steelers got a couple votes, but everyone's giving the Raiders a break, which I don't get. They're kind of quiet in the media,
Yeah.
and they just put up a terrible effort this past week, Dave, didn't they?
Yeah,
Did
I
they score?
mean, you want to just go right there. No,
Yeah,
they
let's just go right there.
absolutely did not.
Right.
Against a Saints
Shocking.
defense, which we've talked about all year, is awful.
Yes.
Just awful. And the fact that the Raiders, get out there and muster a paltry 183 total yards.
Ugh, in the NFL.
183 total yards, 13 carries, 38 yards, 2.9 yards per rush. Josh Jacobs, he's on my fantasy team. I know nobody cares, but he has had some very good games this year. The fact that they could not run the ball against the Saints defense, it's just awful. I don't even know what to say.
Yep.
The Raiders should be taken out behind the woodshed and punished, if you will, for their poor behaviors.
Do
And
I hear get out of here
no, it has
nominee in the future there?
entirely possible. You got Jared Stidham came in.
Yeah. Don't
Uh,
sit him. Yeah, get him in there. Let's go.
what the heck is going on there? I mean,
Yeah.
David Carr completes 15 passes for 100 yards.
Yeah. With a healthy Devontae Adams, you think he's not regretting his move to Vegas and the big Roomba at this point?
I'm sorry, Devontae Adams?
Yeah.
What? One catch for 3 yards.
Ouch, man.
One catch for
One
3 yards. Targeted 5 times. One catch for 3 yards. That is what you call not getting it done.
No, not at all. Speaking of not getting it done, stop me if you've heard this before. Wide receiver Michael Thomas of the Saints, the other side of the game,
I heard
out
this today.
for the year.
What?
Shocking.
A shocker. Yes. Heard that on the radio coming home today. Yes. The radio, it's that thing in your car that just produces sound,
to turn it on.
doesn't do video, doesn't do, click and touch and all that kind of stuff. Nope. Just regular radio. Yeah. His toe, troubles with his toe, and gone for the year.
Ouch. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Just bad contract all the way around. Last Thursday, Dave, the Ravens basically put the Buccaneers out of their misery. Bucs scored twice late to make the score look representable. But 27-22 Ravens. Tom Brady, his face is deteriorating, Dave. People have mentioned it, but I've never seen, like, when people get old, you can see it in their knees and their joints, and they can't quite bend or get that burst. But his face scares me. I don't know what to tell you. Something's wrong with that dude.
Yeah. And you know what's weird after all of this, and you talk about the Bucs and how bad they are, Tom Brady leads the league in passing yards.
Yeah. Out of desperation.
Yeah.
His arm is still there. Everything else is bad.
Everything else is bad, including his face. Yes. Really.
Can we break it down for 1 second, Dave?
Absolutely.
I know we're trying to keep it short. Isn't it time for him to just walk away, save his family, grand romantic gesture? I quit football.
Save his family. Him and Giselle just announced their finalizing of their divorce. There is no family.
There's a romantic in me that says if you made this grand gesture and quit football and pursued her.
Wait. Stop. If you heard this before. Tom Brady did that.
Yeah.
In the off season, 20 days later.
40 days.
40 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Felt like a week.
I'm back. Not quite Moses in the desert, but yeah.
Not quite. But yeah, that's yeah.
I never thought I would feel sad for Tom Brady. Do you feel sadness for him?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Speaking of sadness, where do you want to go next, buddy? I was going to go Bears Cowboys, but really not much to say.
No,
Cowboys are firing on all cylinders right now. Micah Parsons is a monster.
Yeah.
Dexter Lawrence also great on defense. Diggs. Pollard, this was the Tony Pollard game, and still Jerry Jones is saying Zeke's the starter. But, the Cowboys are just have it rolling against a team that certainly looked better the week before, but hasn't been real great all year.
No, but if you look at the Bears, though, 29 points against the Cowboys defense, I think you have to feel a little bit better. And so this I heard today on the Mad Dog radio program and he's in Chicago because he was there for his Hall of Fame inductions. Kudos to Christopher Mad Dog Russo for making the Radio Hall of Fame. And so he was in Chicago, and Dave Wanstead dropped by for a few minutes. Yes, Dave Wanstead of the Dolphins. And wow. Yeah. And he does a radio show about the Bears in Chicago. And mentioned how he was really impressed with the offensive play calling the last 4 weeks for the Bears, getting Justin Fields to roll out and not be in the pocket and doing, called quarterback running plays and all of that. And he just said, hey, they're doing that. And, you're starting to see that. Fields 17 of 23, only 151 yards, but 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 8 rushes for 60 yards and a touchdown. They scored 29 points, Mike. And then they trade for Chase Claypool.
Yes.
From the Steelers.
I was just going to say, name me a Bears receiver besides the trade.
Right.
I mean, really, Mooney.
Yeah. No, nobody.
Yeah.
Willie Galt, is he still there?
Wow.
Wow.
Going the way
Going
back
in the
machine for that.
way back machine. Anyways,
Past Willie Gold.
you know, the Bears, maybe they're starting to see some things there, but all of that being said, the Cowboys did score 49 points against them. And definitely dominated. No, Mike, the game that I was going to talk briefly about is this Atlanta Carolina game.
Oh, well, I mean, that game was drunk. It was crazy.
You know, just ridiculous. It's funny because I was talking with one of my sons and he was debating whether to put DJ Moore in his starting lineup or not.
Oh,
And this was on Sunday and he's like, I'm going to put him in there. And I'm like, who's he playing? He's like, Atlanta. Atlanta's no good. Okay. And he was debating some other people. So then if you are not paying attention, folks, DJ Moore on the Panthers catches and, you know, great throw by PJ Walker, the 62-yard bomb with 12 seconds left in the game to tie it up. And then DJ Moore does DJ Moore things. He takes his helmet off and he's talking and sorry, hold on. That's a penalty. You cannot take your helmet off. That's been for quite some time. 15-yard penalty, Mike, on the extra point. So the extra point ends up being, I think, a 48 or 49 yard
48
extra point. And what happens? The Pinheiro guy misses it. Misses it. So it would have been 35-34 Carolina with 12 seconds left. Instead, tie game. They end up going to overtime. Atlanta has the ball. Carolina intercepts. Carolina moves the ball down the field. They get a very makeable 32-yard field goal, shorter than an extra point.
Yes.
After the one is longer than an extra point that he misses. And he misses this one too. And Atlanta goes down and gets the field goal and wins 37-34. If Carolina had won, Mike, they would have been 3-5. And based on tiebreakers, this is the Carolina Panthers, who was several weeks ago, we said, just the worst team in the NFL. They would have been tied for first place and in first place by themselves because of tiebreakers.
Absolutely.
I mean,
insane.
DJ Moore, what the hell are you doing right now?
Let me paint you a picture at my house. So the Giants game wasn't until 4:25. Yes. So they show us this horrible Cowboys Bears game, and it's like 4:03, and I brace your earmuffs, kids. I said, fuck. And my wife said, what's wrong? And I said, the Giants game's on at 4:25, and this game just ended. She's like, oh, that's good. I said, no, because they're going to cut to another game, and the other game's going to go long, and I'm going to miss the start of the Giants game because you're going to stay with their coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, they do that? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm going to be pissed. And sure enough, they put this
Atlanta Carolina
game on an extra,
which went on forever.
Most weeks I'd be like, yeah, let's keep watching this. But because I'm hyped for the Giants and the Seattle matchup, I'm thinking 4:25 is going to come. And sure enough, I'm like, honey, watch this. They're going to go down and score to tie it, and then they're going to miss the extra point for some stupid reason, and they're going to have
Did you really say all of these things?
I said exactly. You can call my wife.
My goodness.
And it happened.
Let's get her on the podcast to confirm it. No, I trust you.
As I laid it out, it happened. But then a miracle happened, Dave. They cut to the Giants game at 4:25, and I saw the first kick. In years past, they would have stayed with that game. And then
that's really strange.
The first quarter, like all of a sudden, Albany's in the New York market. Like they shifted the market a little bit because they do say we're going to take the local market to their scheduled game.
Oh,
and in the past, I've been screwed by that.
Yeah. Wow.
But that didn't happen this time. So kudos on Fox for that. But, well said about the rest of the game, though, Dave. Bad on ESPN. We had a London game that literally nobody could see. You had to have ESPN +3 Ocho the apology to get this freaking game. Okay, on 9:30.
Wait, Ocho Cinco was in there too?
Yeah, he was there.
But you couldn't see him.
The playmaker was there. It was absolutely crazy. You could not find this game because it was on their app buried deep, and you had to sign up and pay extra. And I wasn't going to do that for Jaguars Broncos.
I was
I'm
going to say,
glad I
did anybody really care outside of Denver and Jacksonville, and maybe not
What's
even
Denver
people in
doing, Dave?
Denver and Jacksonville? What is Denver doing?
I mean, Nick Chubb is a young premier pass rusher. You know how valuable they are? People, I mean, look what the Giants did to get Thibodeau, and how long it took them to get somebody
yeah,
of that.
isn't it also his brother Brandon Chubb?
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah,
They're both there.
yes.
But either way, he goes to Miami, and Denver's in a fire sale. Yet they just paid Russell Hustle Bustle and Muscle Wilson all this money. But here, take of all our assets too. I don't get it. Do you know what's going on in Denver?
I do not. I'm looking at the points allowed in the AFC, and at 132, the Broncos, prior to Nick Chubb, Bradley Chubb, Brian Chubb, whatever his name is,
all the Chubb brothers,
all the Chubb
and the
brothers,
Watt brothers.
Yeah. The Broncos had the second fewest points allowed in the AFC.
Wow.
But
right,
no,
and this is why Russell Wilson, although he's playing terribly, keeps the game close because the defense is so good and they could run the ball. And and then maybe Russell, find some magic in his 4 hours of high knees to London.
Instead, let's trade him to the Miami Dolphins, who, as I look here, 1, 2, have the third worst points allowed in the AFC at 192.
Okay. So I mean, great move by the Dolphins. I have no
sure, but again, back to your point with the Broncos, what the hell are you doing?
I don't get
it. I mean, sure, you've got the Chiefs in your division, but the Chargers aren't playing well. The Raiders aren't playing well. You just beat a Jacksonville team that's definitely more game, I think, than people anticipated that they might be.
And the scoreboard showing, but yes.
Yeah, and you're only 2.5 games back of the Chiefs. I mean, is Denver as good as Kansas City? Hell no. But it's not like there's 5 games back already and buried here. They're one of the best defensive teams in the AFC. It is a real head scratcher, Mike. I have no answers for you.
Yeah, no, there's no answer. That's the problem. Nobody, the lights on, nobody's home in Denver. Speaking of teams that are game but not getting there on the scoreboard or especially in the standings, the Lions put up 27, but lose to a Dolphins team that now I think Tua's back and healthy. They traded for Chubb for the pass rush. I think they're poised to be a Cinderella team. But again, I just don't see them beating your Bills or the Chiefs.
No, even though they beat the Bills once already. Now again, you can go into the heat and everything else, and the Bills dominated all of the stats except for the scoreboard. Yeah, Tua 29 of 36, 382 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Now let's be honest, they were playing against the worst defense in the NFL. So let's pump the brakes a little bit. But I hear you that, now Tua is back. He definitely makes a difference for them. Is he throwing for 380 yards every game? No, but with the offense they have with Mostert there, Hill and Waddle, Tyreek Hill, 12 catches, 188 yards, Waddle, doing his Waddle in the end zone, 8 catches, 106 yards and 2 waddling touchdowns, if you will. They're definitely right there.
I mean, all of a sudden your AFC East is not fun. Like I thought the Bills, it would be fun to have the Bills have a season where they just cruise to a title and set up, their Super Bowl run. But Miami's for real. The Patriots still have, Belichick still has his fastball. They beat a very hyped up, I guess I would say, New York Jets team with ball control and defense and turnovers. They're going to be around. They're the Patriots, and the Jets are also no joke. That they're still the bottom of the league, but All of a sudden that AFC East is not something I want a piece of.
No, and
How do you feel about it?
it's very interesting as you look at it. Our team's divisions, so the NFC East and the AFC East, both divisions, all four teams 500 or better.
Yeah,
The thing for me with Buffalo, and it is certainly their defense has been tremendous. Their offense has been, top notch. They've only played one divisional game so far. They still have two with the Jets, including upcoming this Sunday, two with the Patriots, and another one with the Dolphins in December in Buffalo. They have everything within their control as far as the division goes. These teams are going to be more difficult. I mean, certainly
right.
a 5-3 Jets team, going down to MetLife Stadium this week, you certainly,
It's not a gimmick.
it's not the layup that it has been, although the Jets 1-3 at home, 4-0 on the road. So
Right.
we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, at 5-3, Dolphins 5-3, Patriots at 4-4. It's definitely a lot more difficult division, which we kind of thought it would be going in. I don't know that we thought the Jets were going to be quite 5-3 after 8 games.
Yeah, I agree. One more team I want to talk about, just because I want to put them on people's radar, is this Minnesota Viking team is different than your last year's clones Minnesota Viking team. Usually they say your father's team, but
Your father's Minnesota Vikings were actually probably good.
you're right. But
Late
anyway, they're
70s.
not the 8-8 doormat playoff team. I think they're going to make some noise, Dave. They go out and get TJ Hawkinson from Detroit at the trade deadline to shore up their tight end.
Yeah, what the hell? I mean, I know Irv Smith goes on IR, or Smith Jr. goes on IR.
Yeah.
What the hell are the Lions doing? I mean, Hawkinson, he's on my fantasy team. I know nobody cares, but he's a good tight end. Why are they trading him to a division rival? I mean, I know
Yeah,
Detroit's 1-6,
yeah.
but come on, you can't do that.
No, I agree. In division, again, another young player that is moved early, and still seems affordable. So I agree. That's a head scratcher to me. But that Viking team handled the Cardinals all day, and I think is going to be heard from at the end for sure. Dave, let's talk about your Bills and Packers game on Monday night, and then
Yep.
we'll go to my Giants. And I got one quick thing for you. We'll get out of here.
Yeah. One more thing on the Vikings. And I think when you look at teams that are doing well, we've talked about the Eagles all season and how well they run the ball. In this game, 29 carries, 173 yards on the ground for the Vikings. That's 6 yards per carry, folks. That is really, really good. And just another indication, as Mike said, with the Vikings, that they're going to be around for a while, and you can run the ball. They're going to be around for a while for sure.
Yeah.
Talking about the Bills, Mike, they were able to run the ball. And the last couple games, they have started this trend of running the ball a lot early on. And you saw Devin Singletary, get into it and really, it 14 carries for 67 yards. I understand it's like not a ton, but kind of set the tone very early
Right.
on. And the Bills 27 carries, 153 yards and a touchdown. And I saw this today. Name me the only NFL team that has ran for 100 yards in every game this season.
Must be Buffalo.
It
Since you're bringing
is
it up.
the Buffalo
Yeah, that's
Bills.
surprising.
Right.
Yeah.
And right. So when you look at all of the, the criticism, they haven't been able to run the ball. The Bills trade away this week Zach Moss, who hasn't got a lot of playing time, to the Colts for Nyheim Hines. We'll see how that plays out. They're still able to run the ball. Now, a lot of that has been Josh Allen. We understand that, but they've still been able to run the ball more consistently as far as 100-yard games than any team in the league. And I don't think anybody would have said that.
No, I would have said Ravens, Titans,
Right. Eagles,
Seattle,
Bears,
right,
any of these teams that
right.
have ground the ball out. Um, but in this game, the Bills play a good first half, not a great second half. Couple of Josh Allen interceptions. Now, I did see this too and agree somewhat with it. The interceptions that Josh Allen threw, he had plenty of time, and maybe he's just trying to force the ball in with the amount of time that he had. And so that's a good problem to have. It wasn't
Yeah.
like he got blitzed and, just chucked it up there as far as that goes. But you'd like to see those things get improved. And look, they can, play a pretty poor second half and still win by 10. Of course, you have to laugh. The point spread was 10.5 at the end before the game started.
Right.
And there goes Vegas controlling everything. But overall, I thought the Bills played really well. Their defense looked great. Stephon Diggs, gets into it in the tunnel, and some not nice words are exchanged with Packers defenders, but Diggs comes out and shows everybody that hey, I'm one of the best receivers in the league. Again, the defense, just plays great. No,
I don't
no,
have a problem with the fire in the tunnel either. Good. Somebody's got to be fiery, and
yeah,
especially
yeah. And there was
these
no
kind
there
of
was no
games. Yeah.
shoving or anything.
Right.
This is not, Michigan State, and the poor kid getting pummeled and all of that stuff, and we can get into that in a bit. But yeah, the Bills, stay on track, 6-1, 3-0 at home. Sunday night, Aaron Rodgers looks pedestrian. The only concern, I think, was the run defense. They gave up 200 yards rushing, and that didn't look great. But again, they only gave up 17 points and they won by 10. So
Yeah.
pick your poison there and we're good. But Mike, what about your Giants?
Yeah.
Heard lots of things about, this was the only game this week where two teams were
With winning
playing that
records. Yeah.
both had winning records. And could you even have said that in week 8 that it was the Giants and the Sea Chickens? But that was the case. So what about it, Mike? What say you?
I say, whatever. We're 6-2 now. This game, we were destined to lose this game from the beginning. Apparently, I mean, they just the game before the bye week, and defense looked really tired. We're out there quite a bit, and what Seattle's able to do is contain Saquon and make Daniel Jones try to beat them through the air, and he just doesn't have the weapons. He just physically do not have the receiving weapons necessary to do that. So, that was exposed, but already known, but finally exposed by a team. Like, I felt like people have known that for 4 or 5 weeks now, and just haven't been able to do what Seattle did defensively to expose that. And then this game's known, for the Tyler Lockett drop and then the redemption touchdown moments later. So, am I mad? I would always like to beat the Sea Chickens. I hate
Sure.
Geno Smith now and forever. And even though it wasn't his fault, he broke, Eli Manning's games played streak for no reason.
We've heard that on enough podcasts that we can
Yeah,
tell Mike
I
is very
mean,
bitter about that.
so seeing his face doesn't make me happy, but this was a game, like I said, that I went in thinking we are going to get stomped, and it happened. So I wasn't overly upset. Time to get healthy with the bye week here, do some self scouting, all of those things, and find some help at wide receiver. Got to find somebody somewhere somehow.
Yeah, and no trades for wide receivers.
No, I mean, we
No.
sent
Let's
Tony
let's
out
let's
of
trade
town.
away a
Right.
wide receiver. And I know you said he's been injured and he hasn't played and all of that.
Bad attitude. That was really ultimately
Yeah.
what sent Kadarius Toney out of town.
Yeah,
And Wayndale Robinson picking up the slack. He did play first time he's played a full game. He played the week before pitch count.
yeah,
He's a weapon, but it's not enough.
yeah. And one of the staples for the Giants this whole year, we've talked about their running game. 28 attempts, 78 yards, 2.8 yards per carry. Mike talked about the things that the Sea Chickens did on defense. I mean, that's a big piece. They were not able to run the ball. to be able to set up a good enough passing game for Daniel Jones, regardless weapons or not. That's just not enough for the Giants to be successful in their current format and the way that we've seen them play
Right.
all year long. So, but I think you take it as a Giants fan, you're 6-2 at the bye week.
Yep.
You still have 2 games with the Eagles, another game with the Cowboys. So Cowgirls, Stars, Helmets.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That their
Anything.
team from the South.
Yes. Um, so there you go. The Giants are in a good spot as far as that
Let's
goes.
wrap up. So I think this is a fun exercise. And let's wrap up our NFL section with this, Dave.
Yep.
So it's been a year and a half since the 2021 NFL draft. You're the Buffalo Bills. Let's say Josh Allen was riding Buffaloes on the bye week and got trampled to death, and it's a horrible tragedy. And the league's allowing you to start over with the 2021 redraft. This is going to be crazy because these guys are on other teams already, but you got to start with a quarterback to rebuild your playoff team. Of the quarterbacks drafted, 2021 draft, who would you pick today? And I'll give you some names while you're thinking. Trevor Lawrence, 1 overall. Zach Wilson, 2 overall. Trey Lance, 3 overall. Justin Fields, 11 overall. Davis Mills, 64. Kellen Mond, 63. Kyle Trask in the 40s. Oh, it's an underwhelming group, huh?
Can I go back to a different year draft?
Sure. Well, because, no.
Well, no. Right? I mean that's the thing. Like I don't know.
I guess you still have to take. Trevor Lawrence.
I guess it has to be Trevor Lawrence, right? But they've all been underwhelming to say the least. Yeah, that's
something to think about. Run that in your little brain when you're counting sheep tonight and see. I mean, it's bad. Davis Mills almost by default, just because the Texans keep running with him.
Yeah.
And he's getting it done for them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's had some good statistical games, but they're 1-5-1. I mean, Jacksonville's only 2-6.
On the verge of being a bust. Zach Wilson, MILF hunting, Trevor Lawrence. It's time to step up, dude.
Yeah.
I can't take Fields. So anyway, think about it. I've been thinking about it for 24 hours and I still don't have an answer. So I just thought it'd be a fun thought experiment for everybody.
I'm with you. That is a real head scratcher. Mike, do you want to stay with football?
Yeah, let's go right to college football, Dave, since we're in football mode. We haven't really commented much on the season except for maybe during our special Lose With Us podcast that we do with Stevie Covers. Check that out, usually Friday mornings on the Think Tank Sports podcast. Every delivery system that we have, you'll enjoy it, short and sweet, and you can learn about playing with some fictitious money. But the college football season's been tremendous for me, Dave. I don't know about you, and I know Syracuse got off to a great start. Not so recently. So that was fun. But these teams, they've got parity this year. And if it was a 12-team playoff, this would be one exciting season. But the first rankings came out yesterday, Dave. And to a little bit of a surprise, they had Tennessee at 1. Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, I think that's very, very surprising. I don't know how you can take a Georgia team out of that top spot. And Georgia was 3rd in this poll.
We'll get to the fraudulent Ohio State Buckeyes.
And Clemson at 4, at Michigan, Michigan probably should be ahead of Clemson. You have undefeated TCU in there at 7. It's very, very interesting. As far
Tennessee has the Alabama win, which is excellent.
Yes.
And their road win at LSU, which LSU is so overrated in this poll. It's
Yeah, they're 10 with 2
ridiculous.
losses.
Yeah.
But
Um,
they're probably getting credit for playing Tennessee more than anything.
right. It's 40-13. Though. It wasn't like it was a barn burner.
No,
But anyway,
but I have to believe that they're getting some points for that.
but here's where Tennessee's shaky to me. Their only other road game and win was at University of Pittsburgh, who I think is vastly overrated. Vastly, vastly overrated. And that was an overtime game, a good road win early in the season. But they really haven't
Right, when
played
Pittsburgh was ranked,
when Pittsburgh was ranked, right?
which they're not now.
Correct. Good call. Because I was still seeing them as ranked. So good for you. Good call. I just don't see how you put Georgia 3. I agree. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
Georgia hasn't played anybody either. That Oregon win, it was so long ago. First game of the season, 49-3 was impressive. But they struggled with Missouri and Kent State, and couldn't put them away as much as they wanted to. And I guess that's what you get. I don't know. But this is a heck of a football game coming up.
Yes. Tennessee and Georgia. I mean, really, that this whoever wins this really has kind of the driver's seat, to number one, and probably locks in
The Heisman,
a top 4 spot,
right?
Regardless of what happens in the SEC title game, I would think.
I would think too, because now you're going to have a one-loss either one of these teams versus probably a one-loss Alabama, which is a heck of a SEC title game, whether it's a Tennessee rematch or Georgia Alabama again.
Yeah.
Either way, exciting. But someone's going to have 2 losses of 3 really, really solid football teams. Someone's going to have 2 losses and be looking on the outside. Dave, Ohio State, are you kidding me? I mean, they barely put away Penn State. Penn State really controlled the line of scrimmage, and C.J. Stroud was, not a Heisman winning quarterback in that game, whereas a team like Michigan just blew Penn State out. I don't understand the Ohio State love. Help me here.
Yeah, 482 yards for Penn State.
Yeah.
They hold Ohio State to 98 yards rushing, 26 attempts, 3.8 yards per carry. And Penn State, so here's the difference here. Penn State turns the ball over 4 times.
Right.
So if you want
to, you have to credit the Georgia defense, I guess, for that.
Yeah, the Penn State defense, Ohio State defense, yeah. But Ohio State scores 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So, like you said, Penn State, and maybe, Penn State at 2 losses, a lot better than people think. And, maybe Ohio State's a little bit worse than people think, but there they are, undefeated. As always, it seems at this point.
Speaking of which, is there a bigger fraud in the country than the Clemson Tigers leading the ACC? I mean, they have a quarterback that they're afraid to sit because they don't want to hurt his ego. But everyone knows he's not the guy, to the point when the one game they got behind, which was to your Syracuse Orangemen, they had to bring in the stud freshman to bail him out and get the win. DJ Ongolele.
I think the first time, we heard of him, we said, we're just going to call him DJ.
DJ. Seems like all accounts a great kid. I feel for him, but it's fuck or get off the pot here, boy. And then he's not getting it done. So I think Clemson's a fraud. But if they went out, they're going to get one of the 4 spots. The undefeated ACC champion, their big test left is this week against Notre Dame.
Yeah, and that's
Notre Dame can be the ACC killer.
Yeah, and
they
that's
took you guys out. They took North Carolina out, and now they can take out Clemson.
Right. The hard part for Syracuse fans, where they play a great first half and just dominating Clemson and looking like everything's good, and then just completely fall apart, and
Yeah.
penalties galore and turning the ball over. Yet Syracuse has the ball driving down the field at the end of the game, and Garrett Schrader throws an interception with 15 seconds left, where they're down there and everybody's thinking, okay, they're going to redeem it and they're going to win in Clemson and snap that 38 game home winning streak for the Tigers, but that ends up not happening. And now, like you say, you have this Clemson team that, yeah, they're likely to be the ACC champion, and probably as they're undefeated, they end up in the top four.
They'll be the fourth
Um,
slot, and they're going to get crushed by whoever's the number one team,
right, Tennessee,
whatever SEC
Alabama,
winner.
Georgia,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, just one other team I want to touch on as frauds is the TCU Horned Frogs, David. They have been getting by on opponents having just terrible luck. Backup quarterbacks in almost every game, major injuries in major spots. The Oklahoma State game, they were played against the third string quarterback. By the end of the game, the first two got hurt, and they had to go to double overtime to
double
win that
overtime.
one.
Yep, only won by 3. Yep.
Now, they did get a quality win last week in West Virginia. I thought that was a soft spot. I thought they were done in West Virginia at home. And West Virginia had that game covered till the 20 seconds left. TCU scored a meaningless touchdown. But,
yeah.
And the kid, is it Doxton, the wide receiver for TCU, is a stud. It's a name that once I learn it, we'll know on Sundays for sure. But this is a big letdown spot too. They got Texas Tech this week, getting ready for at Texas next week in one of not the biggest game in the school's program history if they get into Texas undefeated. And then they'll continue to play bigger and bigger games if they stay undefeated. But I don't think they're going to stay that way. What do you think about this team?
Yeah, it's interesting. They literally, it's 3 straight in Texas, like you said, Texas Tech, then Texas, then Baylor, Baylor. So Baylor and Texas on the road, Texas Tech at home. But this is the Big 12, right? So they have wins, but in their wins, they've given up 34, 24, 31, 40, 28, and 31. So this is a defense optional league. But they're there, and they're undefeated. Texas Tech is 4-4, Texas 5-3, Baylor 5-3, and then lowly Iowa State at 3-5 to close out the season.
Those Texas and Baylor teams are huge disappointments. Texas couldn't keep a quarterback healthy, Quentin Ewers. But he'll have a healthy year next year, redshirt Arch Manning, and have Ewers go out and run the team. And then Baylor, too, just fell apart on offense. Their line got banged up, and they lost confidence, and it's such a slippery thing to try to hold on to. So I'm really enjoying this college football season. Anything else you want to hit on, Dave, with the NCAA?
No, I think there have been some really, really good games. I think, at times it certainly is getting lost because of all of the sports things that are going on at this time of year. But college football, has to be pretty happy. And, we've talked about this 12-game playoff, and that's something that has happened in this, podcast season for us that will happen, I think, 2026. I think it is.
I think they're trying to get it moved up to,
or 2025, where they will do a 12-team playoff. Something that fans and everybody has been clamoring for since they announced that the college football playoff would only be 4 teams. So that's a good positive, moving in the right direction. It's definitely been a very entertaining year. There certainly have been your blowouts. I mean, you look at Kansas State, blowing out Oklahoma State 48-0 this last week. But I
love college football for the story of like Oregon 49-3 loss on September 3rd. Bo Nix coming in, kind of a joke from Auburn and the SEC. And now both of them have rehabbed themselves and are 7-1.
Yes.
Oregon, Bo Nix playing well, might even be invited to New York for the Heisman ceremony. Won't sniff a win, but he's playing that well. So that's why college football is great. Dave, let's make some decisions on the fly here. I propose we wrap up this podcast and we'll give the NBA its own. I don't want to give them short shrift. We have a hard out for another recording in about 10 minutes. So let's do that if you don't mind.
NBA?
No, get out, and then we'll do NBA some other time or next week.
Yeah. Do you want to hit up the World Series?
Oh, okay. Let's do that too.
I mean, because that's going on, and it's the championship of baseball, and
no, and I'm into it. And the combined no-hitter last night. I mean, this series has been tremendous. 4 games.
Yeah.
Tremendous. I don't know. I don't know where you want to go with it. Where do you want to?
I think going into it, there was so much said about, the Astros are so much better. They won 106 games. They're going to roll. The Phillies had 5-6 days off, and, the momentum is going to be, it's going to go in the toilet, and they're not going to be able to do well. And, all of these kinds of things. And, then the Phillies come out and win game 1, come back from that 5-0 deficit.
But game 1 was the series in itself. You had Astros up 5-0,
rolling.
Phillies chipping back, and now it's tied, and now it's intense because it's tied. And we get extra innings, and the home run by the first batter, but you still got to go through 6 outs, and it was incredible. Even though it lasted like 4.5 hours.
Yeah. So, it's really, as Mike says, it's been an incredible series. So you have the Phillies come back, then you go to game 2, and Houston, positions themselves and does well, and they win 5-2, and you're like, okay. But the Phillies got that game 1 win on the road, and now we're going to go to Philadelphia, and everything's going to be great, and our fans are tremendous. And then, they are, but then game 3 gets rained out. So, they push that. So now it's Tuesday. And the Phillies just come out just smoking, and they end up hitting 5 home runs off Lance McCullers Jr. You can go and look at some of the tipping stuff that was going on, and the leg lift, and where his glove was positioned at different times, and the Bryce Harper and
the pitcher
to
give up the most home runs in World Series history.
Yep, gives up 5 home runs. The Phillies win 7-0. This was Tuesday night, and then you go to last night, and you're like, oh, it's going to be great. From a Phillies perspective, they're rolling. They're going to be up 3-1. They've got Aaron Nola pitching.
Not so fast, my friend.
Right. That silence you heard was the Phillies bats last night, as they get combined 4 pitchers, no hitter. I heard a lot about this today. Yeah, it's a no hitter, but it's really not that big a deal with 4 pitchers. I mean, you can't compare it to Don Larson's perfect game in game 5 of the 1956 World Series against the Brooklyn Dodgers. You can't compare it to Roy Halladay's no-hitter in game 1 of the 2010 NLDS against the Reds. But you still look at it and go, the Phillies didn't get any hits. And their offense has been pretty good. Yes, still impressive. And so now we have game 5, which I always say in any series, in any sport, game 5 is the critical game, swing game. Either you're getting back into it, or you're putting a lead out there. And you've got Verlander and Syndergaard, and right now the Phillies and Astros 1-1, bottom of the first. Phillies still up to bat.
Don't forget about Kyle Schwarber.
Don't forget about Kyle Schwarber. Just clubbing home runs.
Um, American philosopher and entrepreneur and all around great guy, Alex Rodriguez said on the pregame today.
Oh,
Dave.
geez.
Um, you two are soulmates on this.
All around
Game
great guy. I don't know.
Game 5 uh, is part 1 of Game 7. So
Mhm.
Game 5 is you manage it and you play it as must win as you do Game 7.
Yes,
And then if you get to Game
Mhm.
7, it's part 2.
Yep, absolutely agree. And this is for me, and I will do this very,
Oh
very
no,
quickly. Oh, yeah, the boing boing
you're
means
done.
we
Yeah.
need to get out of here. But I will say this: um, Game 5. No, I won't say it. We will just be done for this podcast. But Game 5s are critical. There's no two ways about it. So we'll continue to watch the World Series, the NFL, college football, the NBA. We will get to. There are some very compelling storylines in the NBA early on, and lots
Oh
of
yeah.
crazy things with injuries and
Kyrie
suspensions.
just suspended now 5 games.
Yep, 5 games by the Nets for his tweeting this anti-Semitic uh,
book or movie or something.
documentary that's
Yeah.
out there. But yeah, there's crazy stuff going on every which way. But so we tried this. We tried a different format, folks. So let us know what you think.
Yeah,
We
for
tried
sure.
to switch it up a little bit and try to talk about a couple different things into one podcast. So we're curious your perspective and your thoughts on that as we try to cram everything into this very, very busy 2 times a year, folks. This October, November, and April time where there's every sport is going on and there's so much to talk about. So we're trying to adapt and go through some steps and changes and see what happens. So tell us what you think, and we'd love to hear from you, of course, and continue to watch for our content. We will be doing another exciting edition of Lose With Us. As Mike said, we usually see that tomorrow. So look for that and listen to us on Anchor and Spotify and all these other places, and watch us and subscribe on our YouTube channel here at Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen as we strive for 5.